The death of a loved one or a close one could be terrible and worrisome, but there are some deaths we call avoidable deaths, and there are some that are unavoidable. So this kind of death is one of those deaths we describe as avoidable deaths. Now, how? Our red blood cell contain a protein called hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin binds to oxygen to form what is called oxyhemoglobin. Now, it helps to distribute oxygen from the lungs to the tissues of the body. That is proper perfusion of the tissues of the body for sustenance and survival. Now, the same hemoglobin carries carbon dioxide from the tissues back to the lung. And we inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. But when the environment begins to produce a different gas and we inhale a different gas instead of oxygen, now the different gas we inhale will now bind to the same hemoglobin. It will now cause more problems to the systems. Now, most times the environment produces carbon monoxide, either through the trucks or through our cars. But the cause of this major kind of death in our environment is the use of generators. Now, generators produce a gas called carbon monoxide. Most people sleep close to where they have their generator, or they have their generator close to their living room. Now, while you sleep, the generator is constantly producing carbon monoxide, and most of them will allow the generator to be on throughout the night while they sleep, and they will keep inhaling this carbon monoxide throughout the night. Now, once you inhale carbon monoxide, what happens is carbon monoxide now takes the place of the oxygen in the hemoglobin. Carbon monoxide now binds to the hemoglobin to form what is called carboxyhemoglobin. Now, the hemoglobin will now be transporting carbon monoxide from the lungs to the tissues, and instead of oxygen that helps our tissues to survive, now we'll now be having carbon monoxide, which is dangerous to our tissues. Now, when you inhale much of carbon monoxide, it now chokes the system and causes so many problems. One of the symptoms you're going to produce once you inhale carbon monoxide is, first, you're going to have headache. You begin to complain of headache. The next thing you're going to have is you begin to feel as if you want to vomit. Nausea and vomiting will set in. Then the next thing is you begin to have weakness and fatigue. Then if you go to a scene where they said 5 slept and they could not wake up, you see, most of them don't just lie quietly and die like that. You see that most of them tried to push one another in a way. They lie in a haphazard way. That means they tried at a point to know if they could struggle and survive, but the weakness was already there. You understand? So the person tries to struggle, but it's not there. So there will be weakness, there will be dizziness also. Now the next thing the person will experience is seizure. The body will begin to have seizure. Then from seizure, it will now lead to unconsciousness, because the system has already accumulated much of carbon monoxide. So there's no how the body tissues could breathe again. So the breathing space, the lungs is being filled up with carbon monoxide, and that carbon monoxide is dangerous, just as I said initially, it's dangerous to our system. So the more of it you accumulate, the closer you are to your grave. Now, once you accumulate that carbon monoxide, it will now lead from seizure to unconsciousness. And if there is no any intervention by any medical professional within this period, it will now lead to death. So this is what that leads to the death of some families. Go and check. Most of them had generator close to the room where they sleep. And this is one of the cause of this terrible death in our society. Now, how do we avoid this kind of death? This is what we call an avoidable kind of death, which means you can avoid it. But how do you avoid this? One of the things you have to do is make sure you don't have generator close to where you sleep. It is dangerous. No matter how you like your generator, no matter the cost of the generator, please take the generator far away. All you need to do is you can build a small house for the generator for protection. Nobody will steal your generator. It will be safe. But for the sake of your health, please don't have a generator close to where you sleep. It is dangerous. You inhale this carbon monoxide and you will die in the process, because your system, your lungs will be choked up with this carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is dangerous to our health. So don't sleep close to generators. And another thing you have to do is make sure that your cars are well maintained to avoid production of carbon monoxide. Much production of carbon monoxide to the air is affecting our lives. Then, if you have anybody that has experienced this and it led to the person choking up, now these are the things you have, immediate things you have to do. One, expose the person to appropriate ventilation, fresh air. Take the person, open the rooms, remove the generator, open the windows, open the door. Let there be fresh air within the environment or within the room. Then another thing you have to do immediately is administer oxygen. Put this person on oxygen, just to make sure that the level of this carbon monoxide is reduced in the system. Then immediately call for help. Call a hospital for help. Once you do this, you see your person will be brought back to life. So this is a kind of avoidable death. Make sure you don't put yourself into danger. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you in the next video. Please follow me for more information on the primary things you need to do and simple things you need to do about your health. Thank you so much.